everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon and this is a channel that is dedicated to all things related to narcissism. I make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on all types of topics related to narcissism. So if you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. I would really appreciate it if you gave the video a thumbs up. It's a free way you can help me out. And definitely don't forget to leave a comment because I like to read what you have to say. For those of you who wonder, who question, who wish you knew, is God real? Let me tell you what I know to be true. He's real, all right, and more than likely, he's very close to you right now. God is not loud. Before I knew him, I expected that he would be. I expected him to be in your face, unmistakable, and I'm sure he is sometimes, but I know him to be barely perceptible in the moment. It's in retrospect that you hear him, that you see him, that you realize all this time, there he was. I know the exact day, almost the exact minute that God stepped from the shadows and stood directly in front of me. Something massive, colossal, transformative was happening, but I had no idea then. It's only in retrospect that the obvious is seen. I'm exactly like most of you. I had no idea what narcissism was when I got married. I had no idea what narcissism was when I had children with a creature and not a man. These things happened, but they confused me. And that's how I lived, mixed up in the chaos that narcissism is when you haven't discovered it yet. It's exactly like how God shows up, completely surrounding you, and you have no idea until you do. Then everything makes sense, finally. It's like you put the final piece in a puzzle you didn't know you were making. A new life begins, and you had no idea that the old one was finished. I oftentimes actually, think about that day, April 21st, 2016. I was miraculously delivered from codependence. Now that's beyond the scope of today's video, but my point is that like God, the things unseen are just as real as what is, the things seen are just as real as what is unseen. My kids and I together were pulled from the swirling sea, a nightmare we weren't aware we were even living. We were plucked straight out of the storm. I picture us circling a drain, spinning faster and faster. And right before we went down the hole, God reached out and pushed a plug in. Yet, like so many ugly realities, it gets worse before it gets better. And that's exactly what happened to us. Our ordeal, our nightmare unfolded, and it spread out and touched every single part of our lives. It finished my kids' childhood. It altered the three of us in such profound ways that now we speak of our life in terms of before and after. My children, at ages 9 and 12, lost their childhoods. And that brings me to today's topic, guilt. The guilt we have as parents that our child's other parent is a narcissist. And God, do I loathe that word narcissist. It even sounds ugly, and it is ugly. It's hideous. Guilt is a self-conscious emotion. It's a reflection on yourself. It's remorse or responsibility for something. And there are definitely times that you feel guilty, and you should feel guilty. You should feel shame for things that are your fault. But what about the toxic guilt many of us feel for something beyond our control? How do we handle that? What should we do? Remember, God saved us for a reason. He was always present, and he made himself shown right when we needed him. Narcissism does not need to beat us. We can defeat the narcissist. We can raise our children and live a life narc-free. I'm going to tell you what I learned the hard way. If we don't learn to control pain, guilt, fear, regret, anything that brings us down, it will control us, and we cannot afford to let anything paralyze us emotionally. Now, I'm by no means saying that this is easy, but I am saying we have no choice. Every single thing I have ever said on this channel is the truth. It really happened, or it is currently really happening. That includes what I said about God at the beginning of this video. Narcissism is so extreme, so extraordinary, so evil and vile that we can't fight it on our own. We can't defeat such an obscenity in our own power. It requires God himself to save us, to strengthen us. But remember what I said, God is quiet. our fear and our guilt is loud. It can easily overwhelm us and supersede that God saved us for a reason. Just the fact that God saved us tells us it's going to be okay. Don't forget that. God wouldn't have saved us if we could only fail, if all we could do was collapse under the weight of responsibility. All of us are going to turn our greatest pain into our greatest achievement. It's already done. We have to have the confidence to believe in that. We can't let ourselves be devoured by guilt. My daughter has said that narc kids are just built different. We are also built different, and we're going to teach our kids that nothing grows without rain. They're going to learn from us that everything can change when we have a great perspective. We're going to be winners. No narcissist is going to defeat us. We need to stick together, support each other, and do this. I don't want to be a statistic any more than you do. I don't want to be yet another single mother raising broken, undisciplined kids. The odds are against us. Our sons are more likely to be violent, angry men. Our sons are more likely to drop out of school. Our sons are more likely to be incarcerated, to do drugs. Our daughters are more likely to get pregnant as teens. Our daughters are more likely to be depressed, have bad relationships themselves, and do poorly in school. We have our work cut out for us. Guilt cannot be a part of our lives. Who does that help? Guilt is really self-indulgent. I mean, think about it that way. Guilt is self-indulgent, and single parents don't get many luxuries. Let's not pamper ourselves with negativity. Let's talk about realities and then the solution. Raising a son as a single mother is very, very difficult. Our sons need more than us to be both a mother and a father. We can't be a full mother or a full father, so we're half of each, and our sons don't get what they need. I was listening to Ray Lewis, a former NFL player, give a speech recently, and something he said ripped through me. I could feel my heart break and hatred towards my ex flare up at the exact same time. He spoke of the helpless feeling he had as a child without a father, the dashed hopes, responsibility for his mother, the fear and rage. At one point, he said, "The greatest pain a man will ever go through is the disconnect from a living father." That's enough to make me want to get in bed and stay there. But would that help my son grow into a man? Hell no, it wouldn't. That would make a bad situation even worse. And not only that, I would fail my son, and that isn't happening. Guilt is there. It's so present in our lives. Every single time we hear another statistic, we read something, we see something our child is suffering. But remember, guilt is a luxury. We don't need to feel that type of luxury. We already have enough against us. We need to push that guilt down and get rid of it. God saved us for a reason. That's why I mentioned it at the beginning. He's not loud. He's quiet, but he's there. We have everything that we need to raise our children the way that they deserve. When I was with my ex, I always wanted him to be protective of me. I craved that. We had arguments over it. In retrospect, I felt the effect of the narcissism. I had no idea. I didn't know it was happening at the time. He didn't care about me. I had no idea how right I really was. What has happened though? And I'm curious if other single mothers have experienced this, so let me know. I have a feeling that you do. My son is protective of me. He's the way I always wanted his father to be. But I don't want that for my son. I want my son to be a child. I want him to live like a child when he's a child. I don't want my son to be my husband. He feels responsible for me. Why doesn't his father? Is he angry about that? Does he think about the unfairness of it all? Does he remember a time when he believed he had a father? Is he angry at me? Does he blame himself? I've tried to talk to him about how he feels about his father, but he never wants to. If I push it, he'll tell me he doesn't care. He doesn't need a father. He's okay. I shouldn't worry. He spends a lot of time in his room. Is that because he's depressed, or is it because he's a teenager? How can I raise him right with all these odds stacked against him? And guilt comes right there to rear its ugly head. And I know guilt isn't fair to us single mothers and fathers. We're the ones who stayed. We're the ones who worry, who play two roles. But we're also the ones that got involved with the narcissist. This is something we need to forgive ourselves for because we didn't know. It's like I said at the beginning of the video, I know the way that I lived is exactly how so many of you lived. We lived in confusion. There was chaos surrounding us and we had no idea what was happening. Why is this person acting this way? I can remember being so confused by my ex's behavior. It didn't make sense. Why would he be this way? Why didn't he care? Why would he let these things happen to me and to his kids? It was utter confusion. It was horrible. Once I knew, it all made sense, but then the guilt comes in. How could I not have known? Why didn't I put a stop to this? Why? We could go on in perpetuity asking ourselves why, feeling bad. But the reality is the responsibility isn't ours. The narcissist is the one that did these things. We didn't know. Would you have married? Would you have gotten involved with somebody that you knew was a narcissist if you knew what was going to happen? Of course not. We need to let it go because guilt will destroy us. Guilt will destroy our children, and it doesn't benefit anybody. We're the ones who worry. We're the ones who play the two roles. My ex makes me sick. He lives however he wants. He's guilt-free. Actually, he's blaming me. How convenient. He hasn't seen his kids for 2 years, hasn't given me one dime to help support them. But it's all my fault. And I know many of you can relate. And right now, my divorce is ramping up. My ex has teamed up with his parents to hurt me. It never occurs to them that hurting me hurts the very children that they're pretending to love when somebody else is watching. If my ex really cared about his kids, if your ex, your husband, wife, whoever the person is, if they really cared about their children, they would be making very different decisions. It's like that for all of us. I know this. I know I'm not alone. That's why I'm making this video. I worry tremendously about my children. Many of you know that in December, I literally ripped my kids out of their home and took them to another state to protect them from their father. That is going to stay with my children for the rest of their lives. I knew it then, I know it now. And if I'm not careful, guilt will come up. But then I didn't have a choice. If I didn't do that, my children would either have been homeless or their father, the father that we're all afraid of, the father that I believe at least 2 times wanted to kill us, would be living in the home with us. I had to do it, but I still feel guilty. We feel guilty for things that aren't our fault. And that's what I'm trying to get across in this video. Don't. What isn't your fault isn't something to feel guilty about. We're left with the after effects. Our exes, even if we're still with the person, they don't feel guilty, so we take it on. There's guilt there somewhere. Somebody has to take it. And us, the codependents, we're the ones that are too willing to take on everybody else's problem, the burden of somebody else's sins. We have to stop doing that. Raising a daughter is different. My daughter is almost like a second mother to my son. Her maternal instinct is off the charts. If anyone messes with her brother, they have to go through her first. She instinctively knows that it's harder on him. But I know that doesn't mean it isn't hard on her. Now, my daughter adores Joe. She took to him immediately. She craves a male figure, and Joe's very sensitive to that. But I know that the wrong male figure can cause her a lot of trouble. And again, her father lives without a single thought of her future. All of it is dumped on me. Thankfully, I'm a positive person. We all know that being a single parent is one of the hardest jobs out there. Being a single parent when the other parent is a narcissist, really, truly, only God can help us in that situation. But that's what's happening. That's the reality. God is helping us. Now, many of us are in the position where we know what's happening. That in itself can make a different future for our families. I come from a long line of narcissistic men and their codependent wives. We should all of us should be statistics with our kids, but instead, we're awake and alert. Now, we weren't always, but we are now watching this video, watching these channels, reading up about narcissism. We're aware in a way that our mothers, our fathers never were. That in itself can make such a difference. That in itself is God present in our lives. We can do what is necessary to not only prosper, but thrive. Now, it's true we can't change the past, but we can and must change the future. And that begins by changing our perspective, how we look at things. If we change our perspective, many of our problems will turn into opportunities. If we change how we look at things, the things you see will change. Grow through the storms in your life. Storms can lift you higher. We can survive a massive loss without failing. Really, all of us only have two choices. We can lay down and die or get up and live. There's only one choice for me. I'm going to get up and live. My kids have already lost one parent. There's no way that I'm going to let them lose a second one if I have anything to say about it. Our kids' lives are on the lines, their futures. And when we feel guilty, we feel like we're doing something, but what we're really doing is hurting our children. Everything's on us. We can live in that unfairness, fixated on it, or we can show the very children we say we love so much that we really do. The narcissist says they love their children, but look what their actions do. We not only say we love our children, but our actions back it up. How we spend the 24 hours we're given every single day determines what our life is. It determines what our children's lives are. Everybody dies, but not everybody lives. So remember, God is with you, but He's quiet. Think about how much it will benefit our children if we focus on what we have left, not what we wish we had. Whatever else the past was, it's gone. Guilt is not productive. Guilt is like sitting in a rocking chair. You're moving, so you think you're doing something, but you're just sitting still. Guilt will not help us. Action will. All of us can make such a difference in our children's lives. We're aware of narcissism. Our ancestors were not aware of it. Let's make something happen. All of us, we can support each other. We can help each other through this because we understand. So please, push the guilt down, get rid of it. Live your life full of hope. Our children do not need to be statistics. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that it helped. I know what it feels like to feel this toxic guilt all the time. Like terrible things are going to happen and should I do this? You second guess yourself. But the reality is we were left with this problem. God is with us and we can make decisions that are going to benefit our children because we really love them. I will see you on Friday. On Friday's video, I'm going to give you a little bit of update on things that are going on with my divorce. This Saturday, I have my parenting class, so I'll tell you about that. Joe and I are going to do a part 2 of our video on spiritual warfare, and that will be released on Monday, so I hope you stay tuned for that. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you all in a couple of days. God bless.